Greetings, everyone. It's a beautiful day today. Skies. There was a lot of clouds around. It's still blue. Sunny. And, got a little issue that's arising, and I hope everyone is paying attention to it. But it's about to get turbulent. No, remember I told you about, well, my last video I mentioned how in the history of Africa we have had one enemy throughout history. And his genetic pool is the Neanderthal that you heard people talk about, that was supposedly pre-human. And it was not pre-human, it was a human. It was before. People like to think that the planet started out as this nothing place, and it didn't. There's always a struggle for survival on the planet. And before us, the dominant species was the Neanderthal, of which the European pool, Caucasian pool, is the last remnant of it. And one of the things that normally happens is that our genetic mixes with theirs. It's just like our genetics mixed with the Chinese. And it was our genetics that saved the Chinese the last time. Listen to me carefully though. This is not your normal history class. It's our genetics that saved the Chinese the last time. It's our genetics that saved the Arabs, or the people we call the Arabs. They came down from, they were a tail end mixture of the Caucasian and us. First came the Turks. And they mixed in, they came into Africa. Like I told you before, they were the only people to rule Egypt outside of Africans. And the people who are now there, who were a mixture of Caucasian, the same Turks, Turkish stock, and African. What we call Northern Indian was the same thing. All the lower India was African. That's that river that flows back and forth. The people, that river of people that flows back and forth, that I began this whole thing with when the war started. And I told you, don't worry about the war. Just, they're gonna tell you about it. Keep your eyes on the other stuff. Now, there's a big rush. Even the Pope came in and says, hey, stop this. There's no winner in war. I'm telling you, there's no winner in war. There are no winners in war. The guy who survives with the most of his system intact is the one who stays on top. And there have been a few times when both of them destroyed each other. All you have to do is look at a certain people called the Tibetans. The most peaceful people today, Nepal, Tibet, that fought a war that almost left the planet decimated. The other part of that war, the people in South America and the people in Australia. I'm not talking about the Europeans, I'm talking about the original Australians, the ones that is even darker than Africans and have a physical structure different Africans. That's going to upset some people though. That war hey. Anyway, we're moving into that position right now. This is a survival thing for the Caucasian. People see that America is letting people in to America from the southern border and don't understand why. If America didn't let immigrants in, their genetic pool would be in the same position as Italy. We wouldn't be producing enough children to replace the people who are dying. They will be in a position like Korea, which is below 1. Less than 1 child born for every 1 person that died. That's why you see so many people coming into America. That leaves, we talked about America and India and Europe, and leaves Africa. After this war, there's a need to rebuild. And guess what? Outside of Russia, Africa has resources in one place. In Russia, in Russia, they have almost the same amount of resources as Africa, but access to it is more difficult. Africa has access to the resources. And what you're seeing is Saudi Arabia's made a deal with the US. Saudis are going to invest in the resources of Africa, and the US is going to benefit from it. They're going to be giving the resources to the US. You're listening now. The Saudis, the US pushed the Saudis in that position because the Saudis are Muslim, and Africa has a sizable Muslim population. And the Africans are so illiterate about this matter. They think the Saudis are benefactors and great people because they're allowed to go to Hajj in Saudi Arabia. And the African leaders themselves being the children of the West, taking over the position of their forefathers who sold our forefathers into slavery to the West. And it's not only Saudi Arabia that's coming. Israel is there already. The Zionists are who control the Congo. It's just like how they control Haiti. What they call the Zionists, the Nazis. The both of them are the same. They're called by different names, but they are the same people. The so-called Jewish people didn't get killed by somebody else. They got killed by their own people. Hitler was raised up by the Zionists. The Zionists pushed the British into a war, the Russians into a war that was supposed to get them a foothold in what now they call the Middle East. They separated the Middle East from Africa, call it a different name, with the help of a black man from America. I'll let you try to find out who that man is. He was UN ambassador for the US. Today, we have another black man who is who? What does he represent for the US? And before him was another black man who got us into war in Africa, Middle East. Holding power. Now there's another black man steering power. And before him, it was who? Barack Obama. This thing is going to begin to get really something that you as a diasporan who want to relocate to Africa, you're not looking at this. I can tell you you're not looking at it. I see the narrative that's going on now. It's like the AdSense is directing all the diasporan focus onto Gambia. AdSense is the death of some diasporans in Africa. It is important. Don't get me wrong. We have to make sure that this thing stops. But there's if you look at the Chinese, they have a 5-year plan and a 100-year plan. We as diasporans, we gotta have a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 20-year plan, and a 100-year plan. The 20-year plan should be actually 49 years. But with the situation that we're in, 49 years is too long. 20 years. We have to stop what's about to happen to Africa. The Africans on their own cannot do it. They cannot do it. If you look back at history, you'll see that they can't do it. Somebody always kidnapped their strength. The Muslims came, kidnapped their strength, used it to build their empire. And after the Portuguese, beginning with the Portuguese, followed by everybody else, used it to build their power. The European came into power using Africans. And they got those Africans through other Africans, the leaders, the so-called traditional people, using tradition they took the children that would have built Africa into a powerhouse and gave that power to the Caucasians. And if we don't stop it, it's going to happen again. Turbulent times are coming. If we don't put away this foolishness, and that leadership is going to fall on black men. Whether you be African that left Africa and went to America, or the children of former slaves, it's going to be up to you to stop this. I'm hoping that you will. We will. Because in the next 100 years, we should be Africa. Africa should be a space, or what we call space. Space-faring people. Looking back at the planet from Jupiter and Saturn. And we are supposed to create that technology for ourselves, not give it to somebody else. Anyway, I'm gonna follow up this with some other videos to kind of dig into it, let you see what's happening and how to prepare for it. This is information, people. Pay attention to it and do what you have to do. All right, have a great day wherever you are. Peace.